the money? How they make give it back? Who they pay the winner? That's a mess, man.
Ask the Federal Reserve.
Although we think they should. But that's the opinion of America Matters Media.
This is not America. Sha-la-la-la-la. Little piece of you.
Hey, welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power, Nevada's Freedom Talk Radio. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. My co-host, Leland Faegre.
Boy, it's hot out there, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Wow.
It's like an oven.
87, I guess, today. Close to 100. Yeah, and we're going to have a special guest this morning, Robert Alan Gore, who's the author of the novel, the fiction that he wrote called Everything I Know About Business I Learned from the Godfather, which is a great title. And we'll be talking about everything in between with him.
Good. Yes, glad to see it. We've had him on before. He's an excellent guest.
Very knowledgeable. Yep.
Very knowledgeable. And is he on?
I don't know if we have him yet.
Okay.
I know he's going to be
all
calling
right.
in. Yeah.
All right.
There you go. Should
we
be
got
online.
him.
Yep.
We got him.
All
Are you
right.
there, Bob?
Dead silence.
Of course, it's New Mexico. It's got to go over the Rockies. You know?
All right, is you there?
Yep. He's going to talk about the special election in New Mexico, right?
Among other things, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the Democrats kept their seat there.
They did. I don't think that surprises anybody.
Hello.
But the fact of the matter is that, you know, the trends were what we were looking for there.
Right.
And apparently she kept a margin that was right in there with the previous margin for that House seat. So
there was no extra boost, you're saying?
Didn't seem
You're on air.
Didn't seem like any trend whatsoever revealed itself there. So
hello.
Yellow.
There we
You're
go.
there.
There he is. There's Bob.
Yeah, I called like 3 or 4 times and I could hear you guys, but
okay.
I guess you guys couldn't hear me.
You're on now.
Anyway,
You know what it is,
I'm
don't
on
you?
now.
It's the Rocky Mountains.
Probably.
Yeah, it's got to go over the Rockies. So we called initially because of the special election, which apparently turned out to be not particularly special. What have you heard about it there?
You know, I got on the internet probably an hour after the polls closed,
Mm-hmm.
and they already had the Democrat winning with over 60% of the vote, which didn't surprise me at all. She was replacing another Democrat who became Secretary of the Interior. So New Mexico has become a deep blue state.
How blue is it?
It's always leaned Democrat. When I was growing up, though, once in a while Republicans would get elected to things like Senate, you know, where you had statewide races or the governorship. But you've had a big influx from California. You've had a big influx from Mexico. So it's just gotten progressively more blue, you know, and as I said, it's deep blue now.
So it's go east, young man. But are they coming with their politics, or have they left them at the border? I mean, are they coming because that seems?
You know, I think you could go to a place like Santa Fe where you had a big influx of Californians, and it would be about as democratic as San Francisco or Berkeley or you know, New York or whatnot. They bring their politics. I was always mystified, especially when I got out to California and went to school out there, by people who talked about how beautiful Santa Fe was and what a great little town it was and whatnot. I grew up 35 minutes from Santa Fe, and I never thought of it as much anything at all. But,
yeah, your dad was in the atomic industry, wasn't he?
He was indeed, yes. Yeah. He worked at Los Alamos National Lab. So did my mom for a while.
Mm-hmm.
So you did have a Republican governor named Johnson there for a couple of terms.
Mm-hmm. Well,
yeah, Gary Johnson.
Libertarian.
But Republican. I mean,
yeah,
he ran as Republican.
Yeah, and I think he may be. Well, then we had Suzanne Martinez, but she may be the last Republican governor we have for a long time.
People are celebrating the fact that the census shows that a lot of these blue states lose seats. But as you're pointing out, they're just going to move to the red states and turn them blue.
Well, that's what we're concerned about here in Nevada, and I know Abbott from Texas has made that concern public, and I think most people that are living there are probably also concerned, because when you leave California, I mean, where are you going to go?
Yeah, they're going to turn Austin, Texas even bluer.
Yeah, I mean, it just, the trend.
Yeah, Nevada used to be deep red, and now it's kind of, I don't know, what do you call it, purple?
Yeah, we, except for the Clark County and Washoe County here where the program comes from, the state is red. But those are large, for the most part, municipal areas that are comfortable for blue state constituents, and they really are there in numbers as the recent elections have revealed. And we have a
1,200 people out in Elko voting red doesn't do you much good.
Doesn't do it. Yeah, that's not going to cut it. So anyway, that's what we're up against, and every state is like that, from Idaho right on down through the Rockies. It's
a lot of good folks are moving to West Virginia.
Yeah.
Yeah, it might be blue, but it's pretty funky blue. It's like,
funky blue.
Funky blue. Yeah.
Well, I mean, the elephant in the room in all this is the immigration.
Oh, absolutely.
The people that are
yeah.
crossing the border. Yeah, I mean, they might as well just hand them Democrat voter ID cards.
Well, that is what they're effectively doing. Yeah, they want them all to vote, and that's the whole purpose behind this. And whether they get enough of them in the next year before we go to the next general election is really the question.
Yeah.
Will they have enough of them?
It's like the Mormons: bring them young and bring them fast, and turn them blue.
No, that was Brigham.
Brigham Young.
Brigham Young. And bring 'em fast. Well, I want to talk about the oil and gas lease issue there too, because I mean it's almost like New Mexico doesn't like capitalism. Did you hear about BLM canceling the oil and gas leases for the second quarter of this year?
No, I did not.
Well, we're going to talk about it in that next segment, so stay with us.
Okay, yeah, that's that one.
The driving force in truck and auto repair. Everybody knows Dynamic Diesel.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
To join the conversation, call 844-790-TALK. That's 844-790-8255. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back to Talking Truth and Power. I'm your host, Trainor. I'm here with Leland Faegre, our co-host, and our guest calling in from New Mexico, Mr. Bob Moore.
And before the break, we were talking about oil and gas leases in the state, and I wanted to mention this because you'd think they'd care about this, that is, residents of the state, but they're going to lose millions as a result of those last oil and gas leases not being effectuated. Do you know anything about that? Have you heard much about that, Bob?
I got to confess, I don't spend a lot of time following New Mexico politics because they are so screwed up and so anti-business, anti-capitalist. Mostly what you follow is the stuff that directly affects you, and you just hope that they don't do anything that screws you up too bad. Being a businessman here, so fill me a little bit on it, and I can give you some color on it.
Well, I mean, it's just that the trend is that with what they want is a green world. And so all of the natural gas and fossil fuel sources of energy are going the way of the dinosaur.
Oh, just the green energy thing.
Yeah,
that
that's
that was an issue. That was an issue in the presidential election.
Right.
And Biden opened his mouth, or one of his mouthpieces opened their mouth and said, we want to wipe out fossil fuels, green energy, blah, blah, blah. And one of the Democratic congressional candidates explicitly came out and said, no, that's not what I want to do. That's not what I stand for, blah, 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 because she was running in the southern part of the state, Permian Basin, which is huge. I mean, I believe, other than government itself, it's New Mexico's biggest industry.
Yeah.
So you don't go around saying we're going to shut you down.
I know.
Political. Yeah, you
But
would
you
have thought
do
it
now.
would be political.
Right.
Yeah.
But you can get away with
right.
that now.
I mean, Stansbury, she's elected in the middle district in this state, and the northern district is pure blue and has been since I was a kid here. But no, I mean, it is suicide. We make a lot of money, and the government itself, and the Mexico state government, that's a big part of their funding is what they get back from those leases.
Yeah, and there's a number here that I'm looking at in an article that originates out of New Mexico, and it says that the BLM held a record-breaking lease in 2018 that netted $972 million in New Mexico. That's got to mean something to state coffers. You'd think they'd care about that.
Yeah, they do, yeah. And I'm sure, the Democrats who fill our state government even were probably cringing with all the Green New Deal and let's get rid of oil and gas and, perfect pearly world and all this. But
especially now that Biden is importing Iranian oil sources now, even as we lay off our own. From the
and closed pipelines.
Yeah, it's just.
We've been buying Russian gas for I don't know months now.
That's right.
Yeah.
So
it's
So
everything.
for energy independence, huh?
Everything is just upside down.
Right. Yeah. So one of the things we wanted to talk about was the upcoming summit between Putin and Biden. Have you given that any thought?
I'm surprised Putin agreed to it, and I'm sure he's going to. I mean, you've got at least a 75-point difference in IQs there, handle power.
Not to mention articulation and just sheer memory and brain power. I mean, one of the things it was that people were saying he just wanted to see how demented Biden is so that he could see him in person, and
I think it's just.
reacts.
I think it's just going to be a stage-managed event, so that Biden doesn't look that off, and Putin has a chance to walk away looking very, very good. I think that's how it's going to play out.
Yeah, but they do have certain goals they want to meet. I mean, Putin wants.
Well, remember Psaki? Circle back Psaki.
Yeah.
She said that there was no. How did she describe it? No preconceived
or preconditions.
Yeah,
or?
conditions. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, they're still talking it up. The media is saying that Russia is threatening us, and Biden is saying he's going to bring up human rights. You know what Lavrov said? The Sergei Lavrov, Bob.
Yeah, I did hear that.
He said.
Oh yeah.
He said, "Well, if you bring up Navalny, we'll bring up the January 6th and the way you treated those people."
Yeah. Isn't that
I
something?
thought. You got to hand Lavrov and Putin.
Oh yeah, you do.
You got to give them a hand. They have a sense of humor, at least.
Yeah, they do.
They
very biting, very sardonic, very Russian. But
and you had that on your blog as well, didn't you? You had that story on your blog, I think.
I did.
Yep.
I did indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I try to follow that. I can't say I admire Putin, but I think he's probably one of the 2 or 3 smartest people on the world political stage right now, and he has been for a long time. He's a survivor, and he's done a good job in Russia, and underestimating him is definitely a mistake.
For our listening audience, if you've not been there, Straight Line Logic is Bob Gore's blog, and you should go there on a regular basis. It's cutting-edge stuff. Nice stuff you got on there, Bob.
Thanks. My basic philosophy is I comb through a lot of the, I've completely abandoned the mainstream media. I don't even spend any time with it at all.
You're not even on Facebook. You're not even on Facebook.
Well,
I'm not on any social media.
Yeah, I have a presence on Facebook, but I hardly ever use it. But I do get on Twitter every once in a while. But so we're really worried about this Poseidon underwater drone that Russia has. I'm sure they're going to bring that up because that drone could carry a nuclear warhead, and then they could leave it in the ocean, and then have it on command. It will proceed, and the idea is it'll detonate a bomb off the shore in the water.
Biden doesn't know about it.
And that would cause a nuclear tsunami, which is something we've never seen before. So I'm sure they're pretty worried about that since 80% of our population is on the coast. But
does the National Weather Service know about this?
Yeah. So just, it's another defensive weapon, but it could really wreak more havoc than an actual nuclear attack. Because even if they evacuate the people from Los Angeles and New York, I mean, the property itself would be contaminated.
There goes the coastline.
Yeah. So the left coast is gone. What are we ever going to do? But and
have a party.
Yeah. And one thing Putin wants, he wants the U.S. to finally say that they're going to get out of the Ukraine or enforce the Minsk Accords, so that the Zelensky, the president of the Ukraine, is supposed to deal directly with the separatists in the Donbass, but he doesn't want to. He keeps trying to meet with Putin himself. Putin ain't going to do it. He's not going to meet with him, and so Russia's a third party. So he wants Zelensky to follow the Minsk Accords and talk to the separatists and give them some kind of autonomous district, that they can keep the Russian language and so on. So we'll see if anything moves on that front.
Well, you know what the intelligence and the State Department are doing. They're looking for a way to meddle.
Yeah, exactly. They're always meddling.
That's all they know how to do, meddle.
Another thing I know Russia wants is they want their embassy back.
Right.
Remember that, General Flynn was in the news again, but the phone call he made was all about the fact that Obama seized the Russian embassy in San Francisco and kicked out a bunch of diplomats. And Putin wants the embassy, their property back.
Russians love that fog on the bay there.
Yeah.
They really like San Francisco.
Well, they used to own it.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, you mentioned the underwater drone or whatnot.
Uh-huh.
I remember when Putin gave a long speech and kind of introduced all their new weapons to the world. I think that was March, I think it was March 2018.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, and the hypersonic missiles. I forget all the Russian names for them, but there was like 5 or 6 of them. One of which was that drone, and the universal American mainstream media and talking head response was, "Oh, he's bluffing. They don't really have all this."
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. That line has disappeared entirely as it has sunk in.
I haven't heard that lately.
They do have.
Well,
you haven't heard anything about that because they really do have this stuff, and we go around and close embassies and call Putin a killer and so on and so forth. You're not supposed to tweak people who have weapons like that.
No, I mean, why do you, the cliche is, why do you keep poking the Russian bear? I mean, it's not going to end well.
No, it never does.
No.
I'm staring at a book on my desk that I just got from Amazon. It's called Disintegration. It's by a guy named Andrei Martyanov, whose previous book was The Real Revolution in Military Affairs.
We're heading to a break.
And
We'll pick it up after
Yeah,
the
hold
break.
that until after the commercial break, Bob, and we'll pick it up.
no problem.
You hear it all the time. Buy local, think local, eat local, choose local, grow local. But who the heck really is local? You can shop with locals at the Nevada Marketplace in the Reno Town Mall.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Want to expand your advertising dollar? Sponsor this or any America Matters program by calling 775-827-8900, extension 2. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back. It's Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor. My co-host, Leland Faegre, and special guest Bob Gore on the line from New Mexico. And you were mentioning a book, I believe, that you read?
Yeah, well, it's a book I'm going to read by a guy named Andrei Martyanov, Disintegration. He also wrote a book, The Real Revolution in Military Affairs, since you brought up the underwater drone. He is
See what you
one
started,
of a group.
Brendan.
He is one of a group of alternative media luminaries that I call the Russians. And they're Russian expatriates. They're in the U.S.
Oh, okay. What was his name? Because I'm familiar with some of them. Could you repeat his name?
Andrei Martyanov, Martyanov.
Yeah. The most famous one is called The Faegre. You ever read him?
The Faegre. I was just going to mention him and Dmitry Orlov as well.
Right.
And they all have websites. But what I like about them, they're under no illusions about Putin or Russia or anything, but they're also under no illusions about the U.S. And they have a very clear-eyed view that you don't get from very many Americans. And the fact that this guy's book is called Disintegration, Indicators of the Coming American Collapse, kind of tells you where he's coming from.
Yeah, I mean, it does seem like we're heading for some kind of a major correction or collapse, and and they're very much aware of it because
It's a new world order.
it's a new world order that's emerging.
Yeah.
It really is. Between Trump wanted to try to be in favor with Russia, get in favor with Russia, because he was trying to keep them separate from China, but the neocons and the neoliberals, they just went ahead blasting Russia for 4 years.
Well,
and,
they had to steal an election in order to pull it off.
Yeah. And the European Union is even worse. So Russia and China are tight-knit. Russia's supplying all the resources, natural resources, even water. China's a lot of China is the Gobi Desert, and they need water, and Russia sends them water from Siberia, which is amazing. You don't think of water being a big export.
And China sends rare earth materials to Russia.
Yeah, well, yeah. So,
And Russia sends oil and natural gas. And,
right.
I filled up yesterday.
Yeah, but our prices are going to go way up, of course. Our gas prices are already going up.
Did you see where Trump's political ads are now appearing at the gas pump?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. I haven't been to the gas pump, fortunately.
His first
Oh,
ad.
that was a Babylon Bee thing, wasn't it?
No, I thought...
Are Trump's ads really appearing at the gas tank? Because I did see a Babylon. In fact, I think I posted a
You
Babylon
posted it on your blog. That's where I got it, man.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
You see how I flatter a guy? That's the way I do things.
Yeah.
Well, we have to keep our sense of humor here. Other than that, we would just fall apart, I think.
Yeah.
There's plenty to laugh at.
Yep, sure is.
Yep. So the Syrian people just held an election, and of course everybody in the West is saying it was rigged, or it doesn't matter, but they re-elected President Assad.
Nothing matters in Syria.
Yeah.
Nothing matters.
Pot calling the kettle black on the election rigging there.
Exactly.
These people should know. These people should know a rigged election when they see one.
And hear about one, yeah.
And he and his wife cast their votes in Duma, which is which is like trolling the West again. But so that little gambit appears to be over, although they're going to keep trying. I'm sure they'll come up with something else that they're going to use, but it's
so easy to troll the West. I mean, we're run by these pompous, self-important, really stupid little people, and it's almost impossible not to troll these clowns.
Yeah, that's right.
It is. Yeah,
why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
If you were them, why wouldn't you? Be irresponsible not to do it.
So Russia and China are going to be together, and the sanctions ain't going to work anymore. And Iran is pulling through. Russia and Iran are sending wheat and oil to Syria, and there ain't much we can do about it. So the big bad United States is looking weaker and weaker by the moment. And Biden is not going to change anything about that. He's just going to keep collapsing it.
Well, no, that's his role, is to hand us off
to
the New World Order. That's his job.
Right.
And with Harris in the wings.
Mm-hmm. But she's bombing everywhere she goes. She bombed with her Memorial Day speech. All right, she said, have a good 3-day weekend, and of course you're supposed to...
I was going to open the show with, did you have a nice long weekend?
Yeah.
for which our engineer here was going to have some pre-planned audio to go with that, so...
Yeah.
What did Harris get when she was running in the primaries? I don't think she got 2% of the Democratic
vote.
She didn't get a single.
Nobody likes.
She never got a single
her.
vote. She's just not in any way, shape, or form an attractive candidate. She's
an attractive person.
Yeah. I mean, she's it's just she's hard to watch, actually. But that when she opens her mouth, it's not going to be good for her. It doesn't matter what she says.
She's the future of America.
Willie Brown, right?
Yeah, exactly.
She's the future of America. A woman in a pantsuit lecturing us 24 hours a day. That's our future that they have prepared for us.
She's part of the contemptible league of insiders that now run the show. It's amazing how that happened.
Have you seen any of the challenges to the appointees, especially that Chipman for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms? I mean, the guns right advocate Colin Knorr, he did a 30-minute summary of all the mistakes he made and all the statements he did. Yeah,
I bet that was good. I didn't see that. Yeah, he's an all-star.
It's too bad all that stuff is irrelevant. I mean, the guy will go through, and that'll be that.
Right. Yeah, all of them go through. It's amazing. There's really no opposition from Republicans on even the major appointees, like DOJ. You'd think those guys would stand up there, and they don't.
Well, they make...
Well, Leland, way back in the day when we were working together or whatnot, I kind of went to school on your dismissal of both parties or whatnot, so you're surely not surprised that the Republicans are totally ineffective and totally loyal opposition.
Well, what does surprise me is post-Trump, they're still at it. Those people have to be weeded out, and that's what surprises me. Not that they haven't been that way in the past. I mean, I joined the Libertarian Party in 1976, but now the Libertarian Party has run its course. It's no longer effective.
It's no longer that effective at all.
And can't effectuate any kind of change necessary to fix the problem. So they're no longer relevant. So
I kind of quit following them at all when I was reading about their stance on all the coronavirus stuff. Mm-hmm. It was like you're talking about liberty and you're endorsing lockdowns and this, that, and the other thing, and going along with the program and swallowing whole hog the science that's not science, and guys like Fauci and whatnot. And I just, this is insane.
Well, you are conveying more than I knew about that. I didn't know the Libertarian Party had taken those stances, and Brendan gave me a wink here too.
It was
He
just
didn't know it either.
Yeah, they okayed something that it was just, you got to be kidding, you know. So, and you know, they've got the big, I think they've got the big smiley face on vaccinations and so on.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and they're repudiating Ron Paul, who's, you know, if you watch what he's doing, he's still fighting the fight against Fauci and the whole thing.
Both Pauls.
Yeah, both Pauls.
Yeah.
Well, Rand Paul took him down. Rand Paul took Fauci down. He's coming out with a big book deal. He's going to make millions in the fall.
Well, he thinks he's going to make millions.
Yeah.
Who's going to buy that book?
I've already pre-ordered.
I knew you were gonna you just stole my joke. I was going to say. Oh, man. Great minds think alike. That's what it is.
Absolutely.
There you go with the theater again.
Yeah, I know, yeah. And you know, it worked for the longest time.
You do got to take your hat off to the Pauls once again, because, I mean, like, they're really the only people who are prominent people involved in politics who are standing up against all this. Yeah. Trump folded like a cheap suit.
Yeah, they are the real deal, the Pauls, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
although,
go ahead.
DeSantis
is strong on everything except Israel. He's a total cuck on Israel, but other than that, he's pretty strong on everything.
He was strong on the coronavirus because he took the time to actually read up on the science and the papers and everything else, so he knew what the hell he was talking about. You know, you can't expect Trump to bone up on anything, but DeSantis certainly did.
And we need some successors to Trump's legacy, for crying out loud. It can't just be Gates. You know, we're going to need some people out there. So I don't mind that he's stepped up the way he has, because we really need people like him. Well, anyway, don't go away. We'll come back to our last segment.
Would you like to increase your vitality? Disease develops within your body when the metabolic vitality of your cells is altered. Well, now there is a patented device that improves cell metabolism called Cell Vital.
This is America Matters Media on AM 1180 KCKQ, a Lotus broadcast station. The power of radio since 1967.
Unable to listen to the whole show? A recording of today's program will be available later today. Visit americamatters.us and click on the podcast link. Now, back to the show.
And welcome back. Talking Truth to Power. I'm your host, Brendan Trainor, my co-host, Leland Faegre, and our special guest on the line from New Mexico, Bob Gore. And so I think we were talking about the Russian expats and their influence on some of us who take the time to look at what they're saying. Do you have anything more to add on that, Bob?
Just that I think anybody who really wants to regard themselves as semi-well-informed should take a look at these guys, because it's just a perspective you do not get, even in the American alternative or British alternative media.
Right.
I think because I think all of them have lived through the collapse of the Soviet Union and whatnot. So they know what to look for. They see the signs, and they're all predicting the same thing, basically, what we've been talking about, collapse.
Exactly. Yeah, you can find a lot of them. Their columns are posted on unz.com, and that's a good website for a lot of reasons.
Bob has UNZ on his blog all the time, don't you, Bob? Yeah, Ron UNZ is on there.
A fair amount of stuff.
Yep.
I get UNZ up there. I get the Faegre, who's one of the Russians. I get there's about 4 or 5 guys I regularly feature on there. But yeah, go direct to the site. Unz has an interesting philosophy about his site. I mean, he basically anything goes.
Right.
Yeah, refreshing. How about that?
Yeah,
freedom
exactly.
of speech.
Yeah.
Freedom of the press.
It's hard to find these days.
Yeah,
Boy.
there's a book. You know, he puts books on there too. He has a whole archive of hard to find books and articles. That's one of the things that Ron Unz does, is he archives all this information. They have an author there, Douglas Reed, from the 50s. He was called an anti-Nazi and an anti-Semitic at the same time.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to...
And he's got a history of Zionism that goes all the way back to the Bible that I'm in the middle of. It's very fascinating to see how he ties it in, because I've seen bits and pieces of it and, articles, but he's got a whole book on it. And it's really fascinating if you want to read about the history of that movement and how it relates to the Bible and so on. It's pretty fascinating. But anyway, so as we know, elections are being held in Israel. It looks like, again, that Netanyahu may be on his way out, but they're going to have an even more far-right government in there. In Israel, there's no left anymore. The left newspaper, Haaretz, the joke is that every liberal in America reads Haaretz, but in Israel, nobody reads it. We're going to live through another period now as they figure out what to do, because the Palestinians have the upper hand now. We might be seeing the end of Zionism. It may take a while, but they can't wipe out the Palestinians. They're afraid to go in there with ground troops. Last time they went in there, they lost 70 troops, and they have all these Jewish mothers that are afraid that their beautiful sons are going to be killed if they go into Gaza. So it's going to be an interesting couple of years on that front as well. And of course, all the American politicians are still knee-jerking, or most of them are knee-jerking for Israel. But it's getting weaker and weaker, their logic and their arguments. So we'll just have to see. One thing
that I find interesting about what's going on and what's gone on in the Middle East the last 3 or 4 years is the ever-expanding capacity for decentralized violence, for asymmetric warfare. Mm-hmm. And the Palestinians just demonstrated it in spades. The Houthis from Yemen, when they took out the Arab oil thing. I mean, you would think Americans would understand asymmetric warfare, not having won a war since World War II, and every single one that they haven't won featured asymmetric warfare. But not only has it been a constant, but it's becoming more and more so. And when you start thinking, these asymmetric warriors, what if they get some hackers on their side? What if they get some experts in artificial intelligence and so on and so forth? That's a trend that I only see, getting bigger and bigger. And I think one way or the other, it's going to come to the United States as well.
Yeah, it very likely could. I mean, look at the cyber attacks. It's already here. I mean, these are...
I ordered my meat ahead.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah, because otherwise... And I didn't tell my doctor.
Yeah.
Yeah, you should be eating a lot of oatmeal.
Yeah. I'm a salad guy.
Hey, good for you.
By the way, on the subject, when pressed on why the U.S. has seen 2 massive cyber attacks under Biden, Circle Back Psaki tells Peter Doocy to track down Russian hackers and ask them.
I don't have anything new for you on that, and we'll circle back with you directly.
You know what?
I can circle back. I'll circle back with you.
It was, I think, the Vault 7 WikiLeaks release where they basically released the software that the CIA uses to disguise where hacks come from.
Right.
And that's 6 or 7 years old, I believe. When you see somebody saying a hack comes from somewhere, you know they don't know what they're talking about.
Or they might and are just alluding to the origin of the hack as being someone else. It could be them, because we've known this for several years, that they have the ability to put some sort of a footprint on these hacks to make it look like it's Russia or it's China or somebody else, when in fact it's our own.
It's our own, or it's one of our allies. Like a lot of the hackers, I think, are in the Ukraine and places like Romania and Macedonia. I think even Trump's.
How about the good old U.S.?
Yeah, they could be hacking it from here. I would think so.
Oh God, yeah. We've got some of the world's best hackers. It's something that we haven't ceded to anybody else, not just in the government, but Silicon Valley, and then you've got the guys, the geniuses wearing pajamas, hacking from their basements and stuff. I mean, you simply, there is no way to definitely ascribe a hack to anybody, and every nation worth its salt now has hackers on the payroll, and then there's the private sector.
Well, there's a hacking group that is linked to China now that has penetrated the New York Transit Agency's computer systems. Are they in pajamas too?
I don't know. It's been ascribed to China, but nobody's been. Right. I have not seen a good description of, when they blame the Chinese, the Iranians, whoever the enemy du jour is. I have not seen a description of how they know this stuff.
I think it's a guy sitting in Langley, is what I think.
Yeah, you know how they used to excoriate Trump when he would bring that up, and they would, say he's in league with Russia when he said, we don't know where these hacks are coming from, and they wouldn't let him off. They wouldn't believe him. They wouldn't say anything about it
because they were getting really close.
Yeah.
That's how they respond.
The CIA is the mainstream media now, so that's probably why.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I remember when the Russians supposedly hacked the DNC and whatnot, and within a few weeks there was a group, Veterans Intelligence Professional, VIPS bunch, had a former NSA guy and whatnot, and said, "Hey guys, your download speed is way too fast for a hack.
Right.
Looked at the metadata; it has to be done right there. Somebody sticking a USB port, it was downloaded, it wasn't hacked."
Yeah, we talked about that on the show many times here, and that's what the evidence reveals. We're running up against a hard break and the end of the show, Bob, so I wanted you to have the chance to explain your new venture capitalist venture.
Yeah, this is we do, and it's a patented process. We charge inject fluids, and when you do that, it does wonderful things to the droplet that emerges from our sprayer. It goes directly to the target. You can have a non-linear spray, in other words, a spray that goes around corners. It lays down a beautiful coat. There's no drift, there's no overspray, so it's even a green technology.
So it's a startup biotech, basically.
It's a startup hard tech.
I see.
It's more industrial than bio.
Uh-huh. What's the name of the company?
4RY. And I can explain to you where that name comes from, but it's kind of technical.
Yeah, we're up against the end of the show here, so when you come back, you can detail about it.
Anybody who's interested, 4RYsprays.com, and there's plenty of science and explanation there, but it does get complicated.
Thanks for joining us today, Bob.
Yeah.
Thanks for having me.
All right.
It was a pleasure. Thank you, guys.
All right. Bye.